Welcome to the Star Chamber. I'm Ryan Swayze, a retired Air Force Lieutenant Colonel and the founder and president of the Walk the Talk Foundation, a nonprofit that advocates for and advises currently serving and former military service members going through the arduous journey of administrative processes and investigations in our government.
And I am Francescagraham, a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel and the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Advisor for the Walk the Talk Foundation. For all our returning guests, welcome back. And for our new listeners, thank you for tuning in. Before we begin this week's topic, please do not forget to hit that subscribe button, check out our Walk the Talk Foundation website, and hit that donate button if you think we're doing a good job. Also, check out our newsletter, the DoD Times Redacted, on all the socials, including LinkedIn, X, Instagram, and Facebook. Links in the description. All right, Star Chamber listeners, let's get started. Welcome back, Star Chamber listeners, to another great episode of the Star Chamber.
All right.
Today we are welcoming Mr. Robert Ledogar, and he is a native New Yorker, which all of you will be able to pick up on rather quickly. He was born and raised in a small town in Queens. He attended Catholic grammar school and high school. He enlisted in the United States Navy while in high school, served almost 7 years on active duty in the Navy, becoming a military police officer, master at arms, military police investigator, and instructor. He then went into the U.S. Marshals Service, not breaking a day of service, and served 24 years and 10 months in the U.S. Marshals Service. And he has a pretty exciting story, all about, try to do the right thing, try to protect someone, and he was reprised against, and here he is today on our show.
Pretty good crazy. Teaser. I like it.
I told, and he goes by Led, by the way. I told Led at the beginning of the show, I really, truly appreciated how short his bio is, which gave me room to do a little bit of a teaser. But before we get started onto the show, let me go ahead and read our disclaimer. The opinions and views expressed by guests on this podcast are solely their own and do not represent the official policies, positions, or endorsements of the United States Navy, the United States Marshals Service, or any other government entity. This discussion is intended for informational purposes only and should not be construed as reflecting the official stance. Man, Ryan, I wish you guys could see. Ryan is like leaning forward. He's getting ready. Okay.
Yeah.
Should
not be cross-departmental coming. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Should not be construed as reflecting the official stance of any military or governmental organization. Ready?
Cross-departmental Poindexter.
Exactly.
Many departments could suck it on this one. I like that.
Exactly.
That was exciting.
Oh, yeah. But I wish you could see what's on camera right now, because Ryan is wearing the most glorious, ugly sweater I've ever seen in my life. And I am horribly, horribly jealous. And with that, Rob, tell us a little bit more about yourself. And thank you so much for coming on to the show.
All right.
Thank you very much. I'm glad we got to connect and talk about this stuff. I'm originally from Queens, New York. Joined the Navy, did almost 7 years. I was in Desert Storm, which is exciting, the 15-minute war. Thank goodness it was all by air. And then I went off and went into the U.S. Marshal Service and started as a deputy U.S. Marshal in Brooklyn, New York, Eastern District. And it covers Brooklyn, Queens, Staten Island, Nassau County, and Suffolk County. I did probably about 10 years as a deputy U.S. Marshal, which would just really work court operations, prisoner transportation, the cell block, processing prisoners, and then did miscellaneous duties on rotations like into warrants or the criminal section or seized assets, protection, even WITSEC or judicial security. But I seem to find my niche working warrants. Did most of my career there. I had about 12 years on the job, I think, maybe a little bit more. And I put in to become a supervisor. and I was selected in the same district I work out of. And the the chief there, he and I worked together as deputies. He went on to become the chief of the district, and he saw that I should remain in the warrant squad section and supervise the guys and girls I worked with, as they wanted me to be their boss now too. And I did that for almost 10 years. And working warrants is an exciting career, exciting job. It's an adrenaline rush. Every day is so different.
Can you just kind of talk a little bit more about that? Because, I mean,
Yeah, this is fascinating.
most of our listeners are military, not federal marshals. My only reference point for U.S. Marshals is people who are in planes. That's my only reference
Oh,
point.
no, totally
So,
different.
so what? So talk a little bit about what does it mean to why are warrants serving warrants? I mean, I have an idea. I'm watching TV, but
I
tell
don't.
us about it.
I have no idea. This is exciting.
Well, just to go back to like the marshals on a plane, totally different job, department, everything. They're air marshals. They only do that. And I think, they fall under Homeland Security and TSA. U.S. Marshals, like myself, we fall under the Department of Justice. And we have a broad range of duties, and I just said it earlier with going prisoner operations, transportation, judicial security, WITSEC, tactical operations. But the most exciting and the job that everybody wants to do in the Marshal Service is warrants. You want to go after fugitives, America's most wanted, the worst of the worst, from locals to federal criminals. And, in the Marshals, and especially in Eastern New York, Brooklyn, we did it all. We went after, we had the best cases you could possibly ever want to work. I mean, anything from homicides to carjacking, home invasions, drugs, gangs, international gangs, money laundering,
Yeah, because Brooklyn's a big melting pot of just
uh,
everything. Just
Yeah, of
everything.
everything.
Just
Yeah.
literally everything.
I mean, it's the home place of, the mafia, and in Eastern District, it was the biggest things with MS-13s out in Long Island. They just have the regular street gangs, the Bloods and Crips and Latin Kings. So we dealt with all. Then you just had your
Not boring is
no,
what you're saying. This is
not boring. Every MIC, there was no equal opportunity violations with the criminals out there. So
That's the funny way to
I like
ask
it.
about
I like it.
That's funny. So what kind of I mean when you're talking the audience can't see it, but when you're talking you're lighting up because you still have a little bit of a spark and excitement in you. I can see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what kind of culture did you believe you were serving when you first joined the US Marshals?
Oh, I didn't know much about the Marshal Service. I came right out of the Navy, and my whole dream was to become a federal agent. And I grew up watching Miami Vice. I mean, that's the greatest cop show, out there. It was so cool. I'm like, I'm gonna go work. I'm gonna go be
Awesome.
DEA, and go after the drug dealers on the water, and I can drive the boat. And that went south right away. I was like, all right, I want out of the Navy, and I'm gonna go be a cop, a federal agent. And, I went with whoever came first. In the military, you get these teletypes, these printouts of like recruitments all over the place, from local cops to federals. And I
Yeah.
put in for everybody, and whoever called me first, I was going to, and it was the marshals. And what made that exciting was you watch, of course, you watch the movies and the TV shows about U.S. Marshals, going after the worst of the worst. And I'm like, oh, I can do this, no problem. I'll get on something. And I did. I actually had I had a tough career, a good career, been involved in good things and bad things. And, things fall into place. So it's when you become good at it. I didn't think I was going to be as good as I was at doing this job, but I was. And I liked it. I liked the guys and the girls I worked with. They had the same drive and same passion. And, we were into being outside and looking for bad people. And that was my thing. And you go through a career like that, it's hard to deal with other people, like I dealt with bad people every day. Bad. Like I'm coming into your house to take you out of there to bring you to jail. Like you're wanted. That's it. There's not, you've been indicted or you've been found guilty or you've been sentenced and you're on the run, so I and the guys and girls I work with are the ones that are, coming to get you, and you have to get through us to to get away. So that's what, it's exciting. It's an adrenaline rush.
And Led, I'm glad and Cheska, thanks for kind of leading the discussion towards this first, because a lot of the conversations we have in the most military and Coast Guard, we tend to, the conversation tends to go towards, okay, we ran afoul of the institution and now we've had a little bit of a divorce, so to speak. But what's lost a lot of times in the message, and that's why I'm glad you open like this, is that, and I'm speaking for Francesca as well, like the experiences and opportunities we had in our profession, we wouldn't trade for anything, right? And I think you're saying the same thing. Like the things you did as a marshal, serving the country. I mean, I wish people could see your face and the smile you still have, because it was something that was rewarding to you, it's something you believed in, and you were proud of it. And it was also things you did that you would have never been afforded in other fields, right? Just like Francesca and I, our military careers, I wouldn't trade the highlights for anything. They were phenomenal. But, and then there is a but, and that's what has brought you to us and how we've crossed paths, just like Francesca, she had a career asterisk, as did I. Suddenly, things take a little bit of a turn. So let's talk about that a little bit. How do you go from this incredibly motivated, dedicated professional, which you still are, to things go a little sour, perhaps?
I'm glad you said it like that, Ryan, because before I get into that, if it's okay, like I had an awesome time in the Navy. Like that was exciting as hell for me, like going to different
Awesome.
duty stations, being overseas. But my career in the Navy, moved me forward to my career in the Marshal Service. So like I made great friends and connections and learned so much. And I had role models that I leaned on, that are still with me today. So I loved it. I loved everything I did. And I left on a bad note, from the Marshals,
Same.
right? But
Yeah.
it's happening so much. It crushes you. So that I'm sorry. Like I said, I drift and I'll
No,
go
no,
into a
no. That I
thought.
mean that
That
that's a
was a
really
valid point.
yeah,
It's a
totally
valid
valid.
point.
And I think
It-
something I wanted to bring up that you mentioned earlier, and I think this segues into the story with the 2015 complaint that kind of got this going, was that when you were in this management position, this leadership position, you were in a leadership position in an organization of which you had previously been a peer, but your peers wanted you to be the boss. And that is very, very rare. Normally, peers don't want another peer to be a boss. There's always a lot of friction, and you did that for 10 plus years. And then now 2015, you start to notice some issues. So can you just kind of walk us through, describe what that was that really got the ball rolling to where we are today?
yeah, and it was a major issue that was like, the Mike Tyson quote. Everybody has a plan till you get punched in the mouth. I was going every day good and like a lot of pressure and stress on you for the job you have. Then it was this young lady who worked for me. She was my subordinate. She was a deputy U.S. Marshal assigned to warrants, but out in a sub office out in Long Island where I was in charge of. And we both, her and I, and other marshals that were under my supervision, we were in the district. We fell on the Eastern District of New York. But in New York and New Jersey, there was a regional fugitive task force that was created right after 9/11. Huge. It's so big. It's the biggest fugitive task force in the world. It's great. And we all fell under that. And that was overseen by headquarters. So you had people that were headquarters personnel working there that would answer to different bosses, not me. So you have a little confusion. Well, Dawn, who worked for me, was out there. She was one of two marshals, three marshals, deputy marshals that out there. The two other marshals, they were part of headquarters, the task force, but we all worked together as a team. Well, she was the only woman out there, the only female, and she was on a team, and it was getting to a point with her that several males, local officers, were ignoring her. She was a team leader. They wouldn't respond to her. They were blackballing her. They wouldn't give her information about cases they were working or going out and doing interviews or going out and doing hits or where their whereabouts were. Even though they're local cops, you're assigned to a federal task force. It's a U.S. Marshals Task Force. Like you have to answer to people. We're giving you stuff, money. Well, kept escalating and escalating. It got so bad where one person who she entrusted did her wrong and was at one point in the office teasing her, but also insulting her, and then became hands-on, groping her, grabbing her behind, touching her, groping her. And she lost it on that. And it crushed her. It hurt her feelings because she trusted this guy. She left the office, stormed out, and then called and told me. And from that, I was just stunned and then called that officer to ask what was going on. Went to our supervisor in that task force, and him and I were the same pay grades and same level, but he oversaw those people. And he talked to the officer who was a local cop and saying that she got it out of content, the whole thing. But she didn't. She would, and there was witnesses there, but
there's a what is it, Vet TV, Ryan? There's Vet TV episodes where, the woman is groped or someone's groped or, something's happened. It's like, oh well, if
what was she wearing?
What was she wearing?
yeah,
yeah. What was she wearing?
What was she wearing? Oh, it's a real toss up here.
Or, I mean, yeah, we grabbed her ass, but she just got it out of context. We were just like, we meant to grab the table and accidentally came up against her ass. That's all.
Right. Yeah.
She just got out of context.
What comes out of that is they're like, well, this officer, he's married and he has a kid. Like you're taking it.
You don't want to hurt
way.
his career, do you?
Yeah, but they're like, she's taking it the wrong way. I'm like, bullshit. So now this is on a Friday in the summer in August. So I'm talking to Dawn, calming it down. Like, okay, what do you want to do and everything? She's like, just talk to him, leave me alone. Everything's spiraling. So, and I'm not, I'm 40 something years. I'm new to this, like I'm married, but I don't have any kids. I'm not a counselor. I'm not the expert here. I work the street and it's tough. So I'm dealing with the supervisor of the task force. Him and I always butted heads. We just, didn't get along. Personality. So we're going to, confront more on Monday. Is it okay to wait it out? So come Monday, Dawn goes out with her team in the morning to do a hit to make an arrest. Well, two officers from another team come to join in on the hit because the supervisor, who's my counterpartner, told everybody in the office already that Dawn made a complaint about this other officer. Those two guys show up to intimidate her. It's obvious. It's so obvious. You gotta work it to understand, to know. And people know. So they show up and then her team and her teammates are stunned too, like, what's going on? So they go into a house to get a fugitive. And Dawn's in a room sitting on an individual, a person, a female, just watching her at bay so she can't move around the house while the guys search. Well, those two officers from the other team, they walk into the room with her. And when Dawn tells you, like, they gave me that look, like, look at us, look where we are, look who we are. We're going to get to you. Well, one of them then walks by and shoves her and pushes her out of the way. Now you got an assault, hands on. What are we doing? She's scared. No witnesses. It's those two and a lady who, the fugitive's mother who saw it. Like, what the hell's happening here?
Oh man.
Yep.
Oh wow.
So after she gets done with that, I get a phone call. You got to come out to Central Islip to where she is. Because one of the other guys that work with her is like, she's really upset. Something happened, So I see her, and then she just tells me one thing after the other of what was going on, especially more than the guy who groped her initially on Friday. Then that would happen Monday morning. So once I hear everything, I confront the supervisor and like, this is it. I'm taking her off the task force. She's out of here. She's scared to death. She's crying. And she's still, I'm old school. She's still a woman. She's still a girl. She's still a female. She has emotional going on in her. And you don't hit a girl. You
Yeah.
just don't hit a girl, especially when you're a cop and
Another
you're
cop.
working
Yeah.
together.
And it's your teammate.
Yeah, your
Like
teammate. Yeah.
that's it. That's the simplest clarity of it. You just don't hit a girl. Like I
You
don't
don't hit
get
you
what.
don't hit a teammate, period.
Well,
And if I
it's
recall
not.
from your interview with shout out to Teresa Carpenter, which is the first time I heard your
Yeah.
story, I think you had mentioned that they were messing with her coffee, they were pouring things into her
Uh,
coffee. They were I think you had mentioned that she is a lesbian and they were making all sorts of inappropriate comments about her being a lesbian and I mean just like total, as you said in kind of your pre-workup, that is a complete frat house situation and she was the outsider.
yes, 100%. And yes, that's where it just escalated into that with all the information coming forward to us. And you're exactly right. That
Is it standard? And sorry if for the ignorant question here, Led, but is it standard for people to know that their complaints filed? Like that seemed like it played out very quickly. Like there was the incident, and then suddenly everybody knows she's the complainant. I don't know how that happens, and then the retaliation begins before. If I'm getting the timeline right, the retaliation is like preemptive and starts before any investigation is launched. Is that how it works?
That's exactly how it worked. That's how it happened right from step one. Is Dawn came forward to report a complaint, and she didn't want to. And it was her and her girlfriend who she would go and confide into. And her girlfriend was a school teacher out in Long Island who's like, you can't live like this. And first of all, she's the one she's like, you got to go tell Led. He's going to do something about it. And she went to the next step. If she didn't have her girlfriend then, they wrote everything down. Like she wrote every incident down. And she was like, look, I'm going to put this all in writing and here it is. Dawn even went the next step where she was able to sit down with me and confront the supervisor and another marshal in there, and they called her out. Like they went against her. This is now you're going against your own. Regardless of that, is that you have a person legitimately making a complaint that she's being bullied, degraded, mocked, assaulted, sexually harassed, everything you can think of, because not that it's just a frat house, and trust me, we all came from the military background and even law enforcement, and you got to have thick skin. But thick skin to a point. Like, yes, she was a lesbian, but really, do you have to work with 12, 14 other guys who are going to go up to you and ask you, hey, what's it like making out with your girlfriend? Hey, what's it like having sex with your girlfriend? Give me some pointers on what you do with your girlfriend that I can do with my wife. That's what we're asking,
Oh
Oh
my
my.
God.
and like it's
Oh
beyond,
man. Oh,
hardcore porn or getting, duct taped to a chair. We're beyond that, and they're
man.
doing that. And it even came out from Dawn's girlfriend making filing a report as well and a statement that the supervisor of those guys in that task force what was asking her if Dawn was aggressive in bed.
Oh my
Oh
God.
So
my.
you're like, where are we going? Like,
Oh
you
my
can't
God.
make shit like that up
You cannot.
and it doesn't come back to you. You're like, what the? And you all know you're professionals, you've been in this world. you know the actors. You worked with them. So you've seen them in the bar, you've been to places with them, you know what they do, they're capable of doing and what they want to do. You've seen it. So I've seen it. I witnessed their antics.
So what happened then after this? I guess it would really be the Monday incident where she's intimidated, she's physically assaulted at a scene where they're supposed to be arresting other people. Instead they're physically assaulting their own people.
Wow.
So I know at some point the institution turned against you because you were not backing down and you were saying, no, something needs to be done about this.
Yes, I went right to my chief, who's a great guy. He went to law school. He's a lawyer, so he even knows, this is sexual harassment one-on-one. We have to separate people. Well, once I told my chief, then the other supervisor of the task force told his chief. His chief went to law school as well and is a lawyer. So the two chiefs agreed we have to separate people. But when they did that, it went to headquarters. So the geniuses that work at headquarters, the real leaders of the Marshals Service, the directors, the deputy directors, the associate directors, those geniuses, they were like, no, you're not removing the guys from the task force, but you can take her out. Or they all can work together while it's being investigated because they work in a courthouse.
Yeah. Play nice now.
Yeah.
That's all right. Yep. You're not going to endanger their career because, they have a family, but her, whatever, she can go wherever. Who cares?
Wow. And if you think you're going to play nice, the talk wasn't a nice talk like we're having now. It was, F you, a million FUs, because you're dealing with street guys that work the street, that. And then it just escalated to FUs to standing up, getting chest to chest with each other, like, all right, we're going to fight now.
Wow.
So
God.
I was going to fight people, cursing at people. It just blew up. And then our geniuses from headquarters, they don't want this being advertised at all. This is bad. This is real bad. If this gets back to Congress, because Congress funds the task force, the money, you don't have real supervision out in Long Island. It's a circus. And now this happened, and people know the actors. Everybody knows that. So they told headquarters, we have to separate people. Headquarters is like, no, okay, this has to go to internal affairs. Well, the real genius was the number 2 guy of the Marshal Service, who was in an acting position, who just is a terrible person. He makes the decision like, no, internal affairs is not going to investigate what Dawn brought forth. We're going to investigate ourselves. We're going to have a guy from New Hampshire who this guy worked with and worked with the supervisor in Long Island come and investigate this. And it's not complaints, but it's just office culture.
Okay, all right. We got to unpack that last few sentences here because, man, same church, different pew. Here we go. So, as I understand it, internal affairs is what I know to be the Inspector General. Correct? It's a allegedly independent entity that investigates things that are happening within an organization. Correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Supposed to be, yeah.
Academically speaking. So for internal affairs, and this is one of the issues we see with the IG, and I'm interested to see if there's parallels, is that the IG has a boss, right? And that boss is the organization they're inspecting. Is internal affairs, do they exercise some sort of independence and objectivity, or are they wrought with conflicts of interest like the military IG is?
Yeah, they're rotten from the soul.
Okay. All right. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well
They're
said.
jealous. The majority of them are jealous that they aren't working like warrants or in a task force or something, and they just fell into IA, and they're trying to get promoted. They're title searchers.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. That's good atmospherics for me. So they roll in and they're like, well, we note your complaint, but we're not gonna investigate the actual acts happening. we're just going to call it a culture, some kind of investigation instead. Yeah.
Office culture, but it wasn't even internal affairs. They were shut down by the number two guy at the agency. He squashed the internal investigation and then
Oh, you can do that. You can just turn an investigation off. Oh, well, sweet. All right.
Of investigating crimes.
Abort.
And
sweet.
That's what happened. And then we were all shocked. So now I have to talk to this guy, this independent investigator from a task force, but out of New Hampshire, who was friends and worked with the supervisor I'm going against because of his people.
And I just, so one thing you just said that I want to make sure everyone heard is that the stuff that was happening to Dawn, it wasn't, I mean, there was some, office culture BS, messing with her coffee, that sort of stuff. But then there were actual criminal acts occurring, physical assault. That is a criminal investigation. And they're like, nope, we're not going to investigate that at all. No criminal, nothing whatsoever. We're going to have essentially for our military, a command appointed investigating officer from another unit where the commanders are best friends do see, hey, is my buddy commander a great commander? Yes, my buddy commander is a great commander. All right, great. Let's go grab some bourbons after. Is that about how it went?
Yeah, but it gets better because this is a Netflix series. Because when that happened, when this independent guy comes in to investigate, he just starts talking to the other co-workers of the guys that the complaint was
pick and choose the witnesses.
Pick and choose, yes.
What?
But while that's happening and this person's interviewing people, Dawn comes forward again and says, listen, reports outside the courthouse that one of the guys in the task force in his vehicle, his government vehicle, tried to run her off the road while they were coming back to work.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Cut her, and then other guys were stalking her, taking pictures of where she parked her car, that when she was coming in and out of work, the timing to try to get it, just to see if they can manipulate something on anything. So now you have more retaliation against her.
Criminal acts.
Yeah, criminal acts. And so from that, just with her part, then it goes to me. So now the supervisor of the task force, while this office culture investigation goes on, he comes out with a complaint saying lead broke into my office. And even though there's cameras there that show nobody breaking into his office, he said that when he closes his door, he double locks it. But when he went in the next day, it was only single lock. But there's the video shows him closing his door and leaving and nothing else until he shows up the next morning. So we're like, where did this come from? So just to put a roadblock in the office culture investigation. And as that's going on, now I'm a target for breaking into an office, but nothing was stolen. Nothing was out of place.
Well,
nothing was
video
put in
evidence, period.
There's video and swipe cards and codes you have to need to get into things. So that's happening. And as well, added into that, one of the guys, the guy who assaulted Dawn, who pushed her and hit her on the hit, he shows up at a New York Mets baseball game on Law Enforcement Appreciation Night, knowing I am going to be there with dozens of other people to confront me about taking Dawn's side of the story and not his, which he does. And now I have witnesses. He and I are nose to nose, MFing each other back and forth. People have to stand up, to include the chief of the task force, who's a lawyer, sees this. So he's like, what the, So I leave the game because we're going to drink. We're definitely going to get into a fight. I mean, that's just going to, I'm New York in and out. It goes from hello to punches. That's it.
That's awesome.
So I leave. I'm like, if I stay and fight, my wife is going to divorce me. I'm getting arrested. I can't afford it. Like the pros are adding up here, I leave. I leave Shea Stadium. I get on the phone. I call my chief, who is at headquarters out with the chief of internal affairs. You just can't, you can't make it up. So he's like, are you kidding me? So he has the chief of internal affairs listening to me tell my chief what happened. And they're like, Led, you got to write this all down and send it to us in an email. I'm like, all right, no problem. So I do that. No internal, nothing at all. They turn around and the chief of the task force is like, I want that guy off the task force who confronted Led for that. So he gets bounced. The office culture investigation is still going on, which takes, a couple of months because they're idiots. And by Christmas time, it comes out and they're like, listen, there was nothing wrong. The problem is Led's a bad supervisor and Dawn took everything out of content. She just misunderstood or misread what was going on.
Oh, good.
So now my chief is pissed. My marshal, who's appointed by the president, he's pissed. He's like, so you mean to tell me Dawn is a liar and this never happened? Like these guys, she just made all this up in her head. They're like, well, we didn't find anything. He goes, well, what about the fact that she reported that somebody peed in a jug of cookies, animal crackers that she got from Costco and left on her desk for the office to share? But what do you think? She just made that up? Nobody did that?
She took it out of context, Led. That's all it was. She just took it out of context. So
it goes everywhere.
So now the investigation is unsubstantiated. As a result of the investigation, you are the problem, and Don is a liar. So if I recall, you are then removed from your leadership position. I think there's another investigation that starts against you. And then what happens?
Yeah, because my marshal raises such concern that he wasn't happy with that investigation, they're like, okay, well, we're going to start an investigation just into what you told us about somebody peeing in her cookie jar. So they do that. This is almost a year later. So what happens, now we're at 2015, now we're in 2016. Internal Affairs now comes. Now they're going to investigate that. So they're like, okay, they go and do that. But what happens is the guy who initially hit Dawn, he's off the task force. So now they're all pissed off. And they're mad that I wasn't found guilty for breaking in an office that I wasn't there. Or, that I had the guy kicked off the task force because of the Met game. Well, that guy, he comes before Internal Affairs, 2 investigators, and they ask him, boom, they're like, you have anything you want to tell us? Yes. Led is a racist. He says the N-word hundreds to thousands of times a day in the office, out on the street, everywhere. He's been told never to say it again by this guy himself and another guy, his partner, of course. And here's all the people that heard him say it. And now this guy starts throwing marshals under the bus. And that I did this. Not only did Led say the N-word, he's the biggest racist in the world. Led owns a gym with a felon who is his informant. I'm like, okay, I'm 160 pounds, man. I don't go to the gym. I don't fight. I play hockey. And Led filed bankrupt. I think I filed bankruptcy. That would kill. If you file bankruptcy, you lose your top secret clearance. You're busted out.
Yep.
And Led
you can still you can still be a partner in the felon-owned gym, but you can't be a bankrupt filer.
Yeah. So now Internal Affairs, this is a grand.
This is serious.
Great.
Yeah,
this is great. Now we have a supervisor that we already know is a bad supervisor because the office culture investigation said that, and that was directed by the number 2 guy. So now they're like, we got to talk to Led. So they bring me in and they're like, listen, you're the target of an investigation for conduct unbecoming, the catch-all. I'm like, okay. So they start going down the list. They're like, how many times do you say the N-word? I'm like, never, so we're doing all that. I'm like, this is insane. So then it goes the best is when I'm being investigated by Internal Affairs, the 2 people interviewing me are black. So I'm like, you got to be kidding me with this. This is hilarious. So then they ask me if I own a gym. Then they do a credit check on me, like I'm making all this money. I'm like, I'm not driving a Porsche. I don't have, I didn't get anything special. I don't have a gym. There's no gym whatsoever. The said informant, source, whatever you want to call it, that guy, the task force people knew he was my source. They used him in the past. So they knew the guy, they knew it was set up. And they knew that.
Here in New York, by the way. This whole story is just like so gloriously New York. Just very,
I hope a producer is listening.
Very,
Can't make a show out of this.
You're like, yep, that tracks New York. Yep.
Yeah.
So you were, I'm guessing, you were found guilty across the board for, well, at least the stuff.
By internal affairs, I found guilty. And then the Marshals Service has this silly program. Internal affairs investigates it. Then they have chiefs, GS-15, who fall under the office of the director, the number one guy. So they answer to him or her. So these chiefs are either proposing officials and deciding officials. So the proposing official gets the report and all the statements and all the so-called evidence from internal affairs. Him or her read through it, but go off of what internal affairs are citing as the charges, the crimes, so to say. So this proposing official, he's like, yep, I believe these task force officers and the two other marshals, I believe these 5 people that, yes, Led is a racist and Led lied to internal affairs. He lacked candor. Lack candor is the golden ticket to get rid of a government employee. I mean, it's it. But we don't find anything that he owned a gym. We're going to ignore that. Or he filed bankruptcy, or I have a domestic dispute. I had the cops at my house. We're going to ignore all that. Those false allegations. But we're going to stay on this one here. The best is that they interviewed internal affairs 16 other people, specifically because of thinking their names like they were minority of some sort, which majority of them were anywhere from Spanish, Black, Jewish, gay. And they're like, Led's none of it. Like they wrote their names to stuff. They put it down. I'm like, you're out of your mind. It's like, where are you getting this? And
that wouldn't go along with the narrative. No. So why would we look at that? And the fact that you are falling on your sword for a gay woman.
Yeah.
Right. That facts max.
What's kind of interesting, Led, is so the genesis of the name of this podcast, the Star Chamber, goes back to Old English, etc. And one of the things that the Star Chamber, the old one, was notorious for doing was if you were accused of something and you denied that you had done that thing wrong, then the Star Chamber found you guilty for denying that you did this thing that you were accused of.
Yeah.
And then you had an ear chopped off or an arm chopped off or all your
literally.
Literally.
On the wall. Yep.
Right. Like, yeah, your ears nailed to the wall or something, right? Because you denied what you were accused of. How dare you? And correct me if I'm wrong, that's exactly what happened to you. You're like, no, I am not a racist. Here's 16-4 at a minimum. And they're like, well, the fact you denied that you were racist, that is therefore conduct.
Guilty. Yeah.
Guilty. Right. And so fast forward a little bit, you were ultimately, I think it was 2 months. And this is just, there's a lot of shenanigans in this entire story. Very New York. But 2 months before, I think it was 2 months or 2 weeks or something just ludicrously short before you were eligible to retire with a full pension, you were involuntarily separated from the marshals with 0 pension, 0 benefits, 0 pension,
wow.
0 anything. And can you kind of walk through that a little bit?
Yeah, I was actually 70 days from my retirement. It was during COVID, that great big fucking scam right there. And I was in Florida using up my annual leave and sick leave because I had more days on the books. I was already given the green light to retire in 70 days from human resources. They were like, boom, you're good. You can retire. No problem. And now I'm using up my leave. I wasn't running this scam like everybody else did, where you worked a couple of days, you were home for 2 weeks. And then my chief called me and he was just like, Led, you're terminated again. Like you're fired. They nailed you on everything. It's ridiculous. The whole thing goes, you got to fight it. And fighting is you have to pay for your own lawyer. You have to pay for your own legal defense. You have to do all that. Like
Very
FLEO.
familiar.
Yeah, you know FLEO.
Yeah, and Led, sorry to interrupt. So, okay, so the IA investigation found you guilty of everything, right?
Well, they do. Yes, they do. But then the proposing official recommends that I be terminated. And
Okay,
then
and
from
who is that? Who's the proposing official? Is that somebody in a position of leadership that pulls the trigger?
They work directly for the director of the Marshals Service with assistance from general counsel and internal affairs. They read over the case and they make the recommendation. So you get proposed and then that comes to you. Then you have 30 days to respond if you want to, meet now with the deciding official, who also is a chief, is a GS-15 in the Marshal Service, to almost like that person is the judge. You have to go plead your case.
Okay. But your chief has no say. Their hands are tied in this process. You have the proposing official, the deciding official, but the person who knows you and your superior officer is completely handcuffed in this.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so I was proposed removed twice. The first one with the initial with the racist thing. With that one, I went to the deciding official, and this is where more shit falls on it. Like she drops. This is on a Good Friday, 2 days before Easter. I have to go meet with the proposing official, the deciding official in headquarters in Arlington, Virginia, with my lawyer. I got to pay for him to go there, pay all this money. You lose money,
Thousands of dollars,
it's insane,
hundreds
insane.
of thousands of dollars. Yep.
And they don't give a shit. They don't care. Nobody gives a shit.
No, they've got all the DOJ lawyers working for them.
That are terrible. They suck. So now I'm there, and I had positive evidence to support me with my career. But the best is I'm sitting looking at this lady who's the chief, and her assistant to take notes is a black lady. Now she's looking at me. This black lady wanted me to die. Reading what she read, I had the worst look the whole time on me until I started talking and pleading my story. The best is that I had to show pictures of family and friends at my house at summer barbecues because they were black or Spanish or Indian or a girl or gay. I had to identify that.
Yeah, it's real petty. It's real petty how far you have to go in these types of investigations.
But don't forget, and here I am, I'm the supervisor. I'm in the 8th largest district of the world. I'm in warrants. I have a top secret clearance. I have all these, I'm the chief's boy, so to say. And I have the support of the marshal, the chief, the district, everybody. I even had the support of the chief of the task force backing me. But for going against, headquarters people, and outing the wrong and telling the truth, that's it. I get proposed removal. She finds me innocent, unsubstantiated and everything. But during that, I'm still under internal investigations because just before I go to see her, Internal Affairs comes up and says, we have another complaint against you with your informant you owned a gym with. That you're using him, or my wife was sleeping with him. I was sleeping with his cousin. I'm like, this is disgusting. But imagine sitting there with Internal Affairs and them saying to you, your informant and your wife are screwing around. You're like, what? Where do you get this?
So all this nonsense here, all the spaghetti at the wall tactic, which we see in the military as well, right? It's like, just keep throwing it at the wall, see what sticks. You surmise, because it always comes back for me and Cheska, like the why, right? This was the motivation here was all so that the original issue of the sexual harassment and then the retaliation and the physical assault didn't bubble up to where that got congressional visibility and affected funding. Is that, I mean, is that how I'm understanding the motivation to all this retaliation and reprisal now on you?
Yes, and more so by the guys in the task force because they were getting removed from the task force because of the
Okay.
bad acts. And
So
then
there was a little ego thing
yeah,
going on with
yeah.
them.
Vendetta.
And then, but the chief or the leadership that probably, in a few instances at least, could have intervened and put things right, did not because of fear of visibility. Yeah.
And that they could have put things right before us even reporting it to headquarters by
Right.
removing those guys for initial doing what they
Yeah.
did to do it. Yes, this could have been squashed just by the local chief of the task force saying, that's it, you're out, you're out, you're out. You're done.
But
And
then
that's it.
Yeah.
but then now they have a vendetta against them,
Yes.
and they don't want to have fellow marshals trying to run them off the road in a federal marshal vehicle because
Yeah.
that would be inconvenient. So now you've been terminated a second time, and you have lost all pension, all pay, 70 days from retirement after serving in the marshals. I think you said for 24 years, 4 months or something like this.
No, no, you're right. I was fired 70 days before I could retire. It was 24 years and 10 months. So I did not have the age yet to have my full 25 years of service or age to meet that so I could retire. But yeah, I got fired on April 20th, 2020. So come June 30th, 2020, clear to retire. But I got fired before that. August 2020, I would have been 50. So I was just a couple of steps behind the requirements. And that too, even though I had almost 7 years in the Navy, I couldn't use that until after I met the requirements with the Marshal Service of being 25 years of service or turn to age 50. I didn't do that.
And all of this is happening, you just now said spring, summer of 2020 when everything is shut down or in for COVID. So
Yeah.
any appeals, anything is just shut down. And you are now, yeah, I know. So you are now completely financially cut off. And you're like, okay, well, what do I do now? And you have to pay lawyers, you have to pay a mortgage, you have to all the stuff, and you're setting up a new life in Florida with your wife. And I remember from Teresa's episode that the only reason you were able to receive any sort of compensation for your over 30 years of service to the federal government was somebody reached out to you on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, this is how you can get some sort of payment for something." And that's the way that you were able to survive. Is that fair?
Somewhat, yes, somewhat. I tried to get jobs. Thank goodness I'm a veteran. The VA helped me a lot, with medical benefits and outreach. They were great. My wife works, so her employer, he quickly got her medical benefits because now I lost my medical benefits, and I can't get anything from her with the VA. And then I was applying for jobs everywhere. I mean, I was even trying for Home Depot. I had to get something. I'm 49 years old. I lost everything. I lost 32 years of service. So things were just escalating. And then, I was put in an appeal about the decision against me to be terminated, which, yeah, COVID shut everything down. And I have to go through the Merit System Protection Board, which is just the biggest kangaroo joke. It's a
We've
joke.
heard. Yeah.
And and then I have to use the lawyers. I had to get money from my mom and dad, my wife's mom, our savings, sell things, to fight this. Because everybody's like, you got to fight it. I'm like, I'm losing millions of dollars in retirement if I don't. Your life, what do I do? And now I'm fired from a government job. I can't even get a job. So I make contacts and connections on LinkedIn, the FBI whistleblower guys talking, calling me. And then my lawyers were on me, but I put in for assistance, like with police foundations, FLEOA, the Federal Law Enforcement Officers Association. They suck. I am not they did nothing for me at all. Nothing. I hope they help others. They did not help me. I even went to the VFW and the American Legion. They did nothing for me. Telling my story, like even just to give me hold my hand for a minute. The things are eating up in your head. But it was other people. A guy I used to work with and some other people who heard of this other foundation, a National Police Defense Foundation. And the guy who created it is a guy named Joe Okapinti. And he was jammed up 20 years before me with customs, and he was a target. So he went through it all. He knew everything. Well, he listened to these guys and heard my story, and they created a legal defense fund for me, which saved my life. And it doesn't happen. Here's this
Wow.
organization helping me and not and going against the government. Like you
Wow.
see that, and that put me out there big time. But I had so many people come forward once they heard my story, and like I was helping people now, as much as they're helping me and like getting advice. Then you learn, when you get older, you learn, all right, let me be a little bit more quiet about what I'm doing. I don't mind telling it, like, this is what I'm doing. Like, it should be out there. You shouldn't retaliate against me or target me because I'm doing what I'm right allowed to do. And that's what happens.
Wow.
So, on a side note, if we could edit this part right here, just between the two of us, the three of us, like, I don't want to go down the road just yet because I have a book being written. And to tell you what I did to retire, I would rather do that offline because if you guys heard what I did, it'll bring a tear to your eye, it'll give you goosebumps, and it'll make you feel proud.
Wow. Okay. So, and to find out what happens for the rest of the story, I'm just going to tease it here. You got to buy Led's book that's coming out. What's the schedule for the book, Led? When's
It
that coming out?
We were hoping it was out already, but it's on hold. The lawyers are reviewing
Okay.
and, adding to it. And I still have an appeal with MSPB, so you never know what's going to
Okay.
happen.
Well, if the book is half as entertaining as this show has been, I'm buying 3 copies. No kidding. That was a great episode, and I feel bad, crass, cynical for laughing through some of it because some of it's so tragic, right? But you either laugh or cry, I think, in this business, and we try and opt for the laughter as much as we can. It's interesting, Led. First of all, thanks for coming on, and thanks for telling your story, and thanks for your service. But there are so many parallels to your story, to the cases we deal with at the Walk the Talk Foundation. There's primarily Department of Defense, Department of Homeland Security. And really, the two things that come to mind is like, you do the right thing, right? I mean, you stood up for your shipmate, whatever marshals call each other, battle buddy, etc., right? You stood up for her after she was wronged. And now your leadership and internal affairs, aka IG, they have one of two paths. They can do the right thing and they can just fix it right there and nip it in the bud, or they can just allow it to snowball to a point where now careers are endangered, lives are literally endangered because we don't want to get it out. We need to keep this under wraps, right? And that then becomes the priority. When something that really was pretty easily solved at the get-go, separate these two people, get the perpetrators out, move on with life, make her whole, done, right? Easy, but they don't. And we see that pattern happen so often in so many cases where it really boils down to, at the end of the day, root cause is weak leadership. And your story was no exception, sadly. So I don't know if that does my heart good that it's happening outside the Department of Defense and it's a government-wide thing. That means I think the work we're doing at the foundation is on the right path. Hopefully you or others can pay it forward and kind of spread what we're doing in the Defense Department to other branches of the government. Hey, here's to hoping, right? But I do thank you for your commitment to do what's right, all else be damned, right? I mean, you literally fell on your sword because it was the right thing to do. And for that, you should be commended. It's quite admirable. So thank you for what you did. Thank you for what you do. And thanks for coming on the show and giving us a few laughs along the way. I leave the floor to Cheska.
Oh, thank you so much, Led. Really appreciate echo everything Ryan said. And something else that I wanted to point out is the thing I mentioned earlier. First time I saw you was about a year and a half ago or so ish when you were on Teresa Carpenter's show. And I could tell that, it was still pretty new-ish. And I could see that there was still quite a bit of, on your face, quite a bit of emotional, mental trauma that you were dealing with because of the betrayal of duty, values, moral injury, all those types of things. And something that's very positive is that fast forward to today, the viewers can't see you. I can see you, but you are looking a lot healthier and you're smiling a lot more. You've still got the passion, obviously, but you're looking a lot healthier. And I think that's wonderful. And I think that's important for all of our listeners who are going through some sort of horrible trauma or betrayal, isolation, ostracization, etc., that these unique supervisors, chains of commands do, weak leadership does to you, that you will recover, you will get better, there is a future, and Led is living proof of that. And I like the
Hear,
light
hear.
and smile that I see on your face there, Led.
I love it.
So, final comment to you, sir, and thank you again for being on the show. Closing comment to you.
Thank you very much. And thank you for all the words you said. That was very nice. You know what it is? You know what I think kept me going so much is like, I like the title to the foundation, walk the talk. I did. I walked the talk. I did it. I'm not a Monday morning quarterback. I was in the game. I made the passes, but I had great people with me and I still have great people by my side today. But one of the things, that kept me going is, mentally, like I needed to feel the pain every day, the reality of it. I didn't go to drinking or drugs or medication or religion. I'm not into it. I have beers here and there. Yeah. I didn't soak. And I'm not saying nothing bad about anybody at all. And the biggest thing with me is, people, they're like, I can't believe you didn't kill yourself. Kill myself? I can't wait to see what's going to happen tomorrow, what you have to say about me tomorrow from what you said today. So no, and don't. And there's people out there that went through less than me or worse than me and went the other way. And it's heartbreaking to know that. But the government, the people I dealt with, they want you to die. They want you to give up. They want to destroy you. They want to take financially destroy you. And that's what happened to me. They tried to, financially destroy me. And if I had children, I probably couldn't have did this fight. But thank goodness, I like getting out there now and telling people, stay in the fight, man. Like you can't die. You got things to do. And like the things that kept me alive every day was my wife. Like, look, I got to stop and get milk on the way home because she didn't. So I got to get winning milk. I got to get it. Like that was your purpose.
Yeah. No, that is poignant words.
Perfect send off.
Perfect send off. Gotta get that milk. All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much, Led, for coming on the show, and hope all of our listeners enjoyed this. Please do reach out to us if you have any questions, comments, feedback. If you'd like to be connected with Led, we can connect you on LinkedIn because he's a great guy. And we'll talk to you next week. Bye.
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 Well, that's it for this week's topic. We really appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and check out our foundation website at walkthetalkfoundation.org.
And feel free to reach out and give us feedback. You can get a hold of us via Facebook, X, Instagram, LinkedIn, and our foundation's website. Details in the description section. Thanks for tuning in, and see you next episode.